Hello and welcome to the ADHD Deep Dive, the show that's not about ADHD but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund, the host of this show. And today is a deep dive into what do you talk about when you have nothing to talk about. Right now, I'm in a bit of a lull. And when I say lull, it's like a 2-week lull. I don't really have anything going on, so I've been doing the side hustle delivery app type gigs for the last 2 weeks straight. And my God, I understand it's like one of the easiest gigs in the world. It's just exhausting because you pretty much have to spend all day doing it to make a dime. And so be it. This is partially the life I chose. I understand that there were avenues where I could have had better paying jobs and I still could go out and apply for those better paying jobs. But I would be giving up on this pursuit. And right now, I'm just not ready to do that. I know some people say that a lot of people say that you can do both. And, to some people, that's actually the wise thing. Like, have the well-paying jobs so you can invest in the stuff that you want to do that's more passionate to you. But I don't want this to be a hobby. I want this to be my forever full-time. Not just the podcast, but like my creative endeavors. So if I want them to be my full-time, I might as well have them be my full-time, correct? Quick timeout, gotta plug in my laptop. It's gonna die. Okay, let's try this again. So there is plenty worth talking about today. But a lot of that is going to be done via questions. If you're familiar with the show, I put out a little call out on Instagram and my other social medias with a link to NGL. It is an anonymous question asking or posting website, app, whatever. You can ask questions anonymously or suggest topics for the podcast anonymously, and I will subject myself to the whims of the internet. Excuse me. So there's a couple of things, like I said, that I am going to get to more specifically because, I want to talk about them. But we can go over some questions first. First of all, to all who listened last week, thank you for checking out the episode with John Eberhard, the touring bassist and keys for I Prevail. It was kind of a really cool, throwback, nostalgic experience having that conversation with him, because if you did listen to the episode, or if you didn't listen to the episode, we had a little bit of a conversation about how my old band LFT, Live for Tomorrow, was the first band that John ever recorded, and now he's touring the world. Just kind of a cool, full circle, small world moment. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. We skipped last week. I don't really have a particularly good excuse for that, other than I don't know, got burned out. I don't know. I get in my head sometimes about this podcast, like right before I'm about to shoot, I go, nobody wants to hear this. Nobody wants to hear me talk anyways, even though I know people do. People reach out to me all the time, talking about the podcast and how they enjoy it and kind of responding to some of the stuff that I talked about and giving me feedback or whatever. But it's just the creative's curse where, I know people want to hear it, but there's just this block in my brain where I go, shut the fuck up, you narcissist. Why do you have to talk to 30 to 40 people online every week? Just go back to therapy. But I can't, okay? I don't have insurance. So take that. Yeah, now you feel bad, don't you? I'm going to take a sip of my LaCroix while you bask in your guilt. So, fuck it. Let's get into some questions. So one more time, if you follow me on social media, every once in a while on my story, I will put a call out that says suggest some topics or ask some questions for the podcast. And then you can do so anonymously. So I'm just going to pick one at random here. Interesting first one. How many stuffed animals do you own? Really? Is that where we're starting? This podcast has a lot to do with mental health and creative pursuits, and right now we're talking about stuffed animals. I mean, a quick answer to that right now is none. I don't own any. But I also don't reserve judgments for anybody who does have stuffed animals. I have real animals who I cuddle with. And if they weren't here and I didn't have a partner, I'd probably cuddle a pillow. But what's the difference between cuddling a pillow and something that kind of resembles a dog? I ain't got no judgments for people cuddling stuffed animals. I used to own a fuck ton. I probably had, I don't know, 40 to 50 stuffed animals, and I probably held on to them, quote unquote, too late in the view of culture at the time. I'm saying that now in 2023, I don't give a fuck if you cuddle with a stuffed animal. It's not, it doesn't make you, I don't know, it doesn't say anything about you, actually. It just says that you like to cuddle, and I like to cuddle. But where am I going with this? Oh, the stuffed animals I used to have, I didn't just cuddle the stuffed animals. I used to be really, really big into, at the time it was WWF, now it's WWE. It's been WWE for a long time. But, when I grew up on it, when I first started, it was WWF. Just wrestling entertainment, the quote-unquote fake wrestling, but it's still real acrobatic stunts and whatever. I'm not going to defend wrestling here. The main point is, the stuffed animals I owned weren't necessarily like companions for me. They were part of my roster. Okay, I had like championship fights between my stuffed animals. Instead of like, oh, how are you doing? I'm doing okay. Oh, let's go to the park. Okay, yeah. Mine would be like, I'm challenging you to the Intercontinental Championship. And then this little stuffed animal would be like, screw you, man. Yeah, we're going to be in a Hell in a Cell and I'll see you. And then the Hell in a Cell was just me sitting on my bed, but I would have like a blanket over me. So they'd be fighting in the blanket like it's a cage match. I had two, first of all, I had too many stuffed animals, but the two running champions, the one who always had the like main storylines for the week about them, were this little tiny, I'm kind of reflecting on it now. This is kind of crazy and cyclical. It was a little tiny, I believe red, so a ginger-ish, dachshund. It was like a Beanie Baby. And now thinking about it, I have a little red dachshund. Amazing. Anyways, that dog's name was Rover. And like I said, it was, if you're looking at the video, it was maybe this big. I don't know. Smaller than the size of your hand, if you're listening. And I think one of the biggest running themes that I had was that Rover was the underdog. I was creative. I had a creative mind that young. I really did write out storylines and arcs, and there were heels and faces of the company, and like there was backstage drama and everything, and then I just put them up on the shelf, and then I'd wrestle with them again the next day, and we'd pick up where we left off. But yeah, Rover was a big champion of mine, and then I don't know if they still have this. I feel like they probably don't. In the mall, there used to be, and when I say the mall, I'm thinking of specifically the Lansing Mall in Michigan right now, but I feel like a lot of malls used to have the Disney store, where you would walk in and then there was just like Disney everything. But this was like before the corporatification post 2010s of the Disney Corporation, before everything was reused and recycled and just garbage and taking old plot line. It was like you're walking into a gift shop in Disney World or Disneyland for the first time. It was just this magical experience. You walk in. Anyways, one of the other champions that I had was a stuffed animal of Bruce the shark from Finding Nemo that I got as a gift from. I either got as a gift. I don't know why I had it, but it was a big. I don't know. Maybe I can't judge size. 1.5 foot, a stuffed version of Bruce the shark. I'm getting some notifications on my computer that I don't love to see. Something about viruses and threats. We're gonna pretend like that's not happening right now. Out of sight, out of mind. Bruce the shark and Rover the dog were the two big champions, but I had so many. I had like freaking Beanie Babies. I had other types of I had like this long stuffed dog that was like brown and black, and his name was Max, and he like kind of had this like slinky-ish body. It was real bendy and foldy, so he would do like acrobatics and like kick people and do spin kicks and all that shit. Wow, I'm really going down a rabbit hole of stuffed animals. How many stuffed animals do I own right now? None. X'd, asked and answered. Number one song on Spotify. Can you do that? Can you find your number one song? How to find your most streamed song on Spotify. How can I access my most played songs on Spotify? To access your most played songs on Spotify, you can create a playlist of your top songs by going to the Made For You section in the app, where you'll find a playlist called Your Library with top songs from different time periods. That's not what I'm looking for. How do I find my most listened song on Spotify? Okay, here we go. From the drop-down list that appears, click on Profile to access your Spotify. Okay, we're going to do this. Profile. When your profile page appears, scroll down, you'll see the top artists and top tracks from the current month. Oh, okay. Top artists this month. That's not right. Something's not right because we'll see. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Top artists this month. This is why I'm confused. We've got the Deep Sleep Scientists, which is a weird thing that used to throw off my Spotify Wrapped every year because I would just listen to like this ambient background music to sleep to. And it was under the artist Deep Sleep Scientists. So that's throwing everything off. But I haven't listened to them this month, so that's why I'm confused. But it's not showing that for top streams. Okay, so I'll tell you. I've got the Deep Sleep Scientists, A Day to Remember, Bears and Company, Blink-182, Punch Brothers, Childish Gambino, and Mac DeMarco. Those are just the ones that shows me on the homepage. Oh, and the Deer Hunter if I go full screen. My top tracks this month are Nagoya by Bears and Company, which I'm going to actually talk about in just a second. 6'8" by Blink-182, What It Means to Be Alone by the Deer Hunter, and Natives by Blink-182. So let's break those down real fast. I think that's an interesting. I didn't even know that you could do that. I never use desktop. I always just use mobile, and maybe you can do it on mobile as well. I don't know. So top streams. Well, top artists. We'll start with. This is what it is every year. A Day to Remember. Now, Bears and Company is a little bit of a difference, but I will explain them again. A Day to Remember, Blink-182, Punch Brothers, Childish Gambino, Mac DeMarco. Childish Gambino. I don't know if I said that right. I'm going to say it again. A Day to Remember, Bears and Company, Blink-182, Punch Brothers, Childish Gambino, Mac DeMarco, and The Deer Hunter. None of those are surprises to me. I know what I like, and I listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. A Day to Remember, probably the most consistently listened to, obviously, clearly, according to Spotify, the most consistently listened to harder adjacent band, like hard rock adjacent band. I'm very bad with genres. I said this 2 weeks ago on the episode with John Eberhard. I don't really know how to label or classify things. I just like what I like. But if you call any music that contains any bit of screams or heavy breakdowns or whatever hard rock or metal, then yeah, A Day to Remember is the one that I listen to the most. They're, soft as a butterfly in comparison to some of the harder bands that exist out there, but I like what I like. Blink-182, I don't need to describe that. I love them. They're the top of the top. Punch Brothers. I think I've explained this before, but I can real fast. When I worked at the Interlochen Arts Academy, I was a photo, video, media intern. I was getting paid for it. It was a paid internship, but I only worked there for a year during the school year. And I would go around campus and get photos and videos of master classes that were being taught, master classes for dance and music and film and television and photography and whatever, and then subcategories of those. But one day I was able to go in and shoot a master class that one of the guitarists from Punch Brothers was there I'm trying to remember the other guy's name. His name is Julian something. He's a very talented guitar player, musician. Julian Lane. I'm not gonna even try, I guess. But they taught a master class, and they were like just teaching some like call and response guitar, like on acoustic guitar, to some of the most musically gifted children on the fucking planet right now. High school students. I mean, still children. But they were teaching, call and response stuff on acoustic guitar, and I just melted when I was watching them. Like, it was the most phenomenal display of musical ability that I've ever seen in my life. And the guitarist said, I'm in a band, Punch Brothers. And everybody kind of laughed because nobody really knew Punch Brothers, and Punch Brothers sounds like a funny name. And that was really all that like stuck in my brain from leaving there. Was like, that guy said he was in a band named Punch Brothers. I'm going to go check them out. Folk, acoustic, bluegrass type, but like very orchestral and pretty and melodic group. Banjo, violin, cello, mandolin, guitar. Chris Thile is the lead. He's also in a billion other musical projects. Some of you may know him from Nickel Creek, not to be confused with Nickelback. It's easy. I don't know why I'm going so deep into these. Childish Gambino, Donald Glover. God, I mean, what's not to love about him? Talented musician, director, actor, writer. Beautiful. Come on, man. There's nothing to love. Nothing. Spider-Man. Okay. All right. There's a whole thing with Childish Gambino, Donald Glover being Spider-Man. He should have been. Community. Whatever. Mac DeMarco, Deer Hunter. I'm going to stop. The main thing I'm going to talk about is Bears & Company. One of the most legitimate experiences as an artist I got to feel behind the drums very early on in my career was, I was probably 19, maybe 18, 19, shortly before I quit Live for Tomorrow. We got to play a show at a venue called the Crowfoot. It's C-R-O Foot, F-O-O-T, Crowfoot, in Pontiac, Michigan. And we got to open up for a band named Bears & Company, which, let me just click it. Let's see what they define themselves as. I thought that maybe it would say, what? Isn't there like an about? Oh, go to artist radio? No, that's not what I want. Friend activity. How do you like look up more about a freaking artist? I want to see what they say that their genre is. 'Cause I feel like there's a place on Spotify where you can, oh yeah, about. Nope. It takes me to their Instagram. I'm really not selling them very well. Just once I found them, yeah, it doesn't say what kind of band they are. Once I found them, I immediately fell in love with them. They have an album called South of the Mountain, which was a concept album. All of the songs tie together musically. And that was pretty much all they put out for like 10 years. And that album influenced me so deeply. I would consider it alternative rock, but it's like very slow, like easy listening with like very deep and passionate lyrics. The stories that they tell are phenomenal. Anyways, they only have 2 other public songs. So South of the Mountain came out in 2013. So they were probably touring their album South of the Mountain. That sounds about right. And they've remastered it. So that's on Spotify as well. They also have a song called Eternal Vibrations, which I think if you look on YouTube, there's evidence that song was written a long time ago, but it was only released on Spotify as of 2018. And then they just put out their newest single, Nagoya, a couple of months ago. And yeah, Nagoya has been my top stream song this entire time since it came out. Freaking what else do I talk about? ADH deep dive, right? So there was your deep dive. Let's go for another question. What are your plans this weekend? Why are you asking me out? What are my plans this weekend? I'm going up to Traverse City again to see my boy Nikolai. I believe that I'll be helping him shoot a live show for a client of his that he's been in pretty tight with. There was something else I was gonna freak. Why am I going up? There was a main reason I was going up to Traverse City, but I can't exactly remember. It wasn't all about just shooting that show. I mean, I think I'm gonna try and shoot some media for John Richard Paul, who has been a guest on this podcast before. I think one of the first 10 episodes I had included him. Very talented acoustic musician. I believe his group, Rhett and John, will be performing on Sunday. I think that I'll be helping them get some media. At the very least, I'll be going to see him. Shoot, man, I thought there was something like really legitimately important, and that's why I was going up. Oh, initially I was going to be shooting a surprise proposal for somebody, but that kind of freaking just fell through. So that's a little frustrating. That could have been a good chunk of change. I'm waiting on a couple of wedding deposits actually to come in for 2024, which I think is going to help me finally start making the investment into myself. And I think I'm going to turn that into either a new camera, a second camera, rather. I don't think that I can get rid of this one. I need a second camera body, and I might as well just, if I have a good main camera, then I can leave this for kind of behind the scenes and podcast stuff. There's no reason for me to get rid of this camera body unless I sold this camera body to get another camera body and then took the extra money. No, I need a second camera. Yeah, so I'll be either getting a new camera or a new PC. I think a PC would help significantly because I could then take a few more editing jobs. I don't really do any editing gigs for anybody unless it's something that I've shot. But even still, that would help me shoot 4K. I mean, even this camera is capable of shooting 4K and 24 frames per second. So I could edit that on a better computer. And yeah, I could take commission gigs just for editing other people's stuff or doing whatever I want to do on a better PC for the hell of it. So what are my plans this weekend? Hanging out with my boy again, shooting some music, shooting some live music. I pitched kind of a funny vertical type skit to Nikolai that we might shoot for like a YouTube short or something. Oh, speaking of YouTube, I wasn't even going to freaking talk about this. Okay, every single time I'm coming to you guys and telling you about how well Penelope is doing, which if you didn't see last week, look at that. We got a poster of Penelope now. That's so freaking cool. If that's something that you could imagine yourself being interested in maybe buying one of, let me know because we're thinking about selling some to people who might be interested. Oh, Gus is getting down, taking a big old stretch. Should I talk about Gus? There's a thing going on with Gus. Let's finish talking about Penelope, and if I don't talk about Gus, it's probably for the best because it's not like... It's okay news. He's okay. My boy's okay. We just had a rough week last week. Let's finish talking about Penelope. We've got a movie poster. We didn't plan to sell copies of it. We just got some for the two of us. But it would be pretty fucking dope if people were interested in selling these. Or people were interested in buying some of these. Because it's just so cool and it's so rewarding. But every time that we talk about Penelope, it has exponentially grown. Again, for like the fifth time, our initial expectation was we would love to hit 50 in the first 24 hours, 100 over the first weekend, and then like 200 to 250 over the first week. In the first week, we broke 600. By the second week, we had like 1,500 or something like that. Let's check now. It is the most ridiculously validating experience as a creator that I think I've ever had. Penelope, thriller horror short, one shy of 4,300 views. We have 4,299 views in the first 3 weeks. Right now, as of recording this, it is August 2nd. It came out July 7th. So we're just a few days shy of a month, I guess. Oh, as of refreshing, it's got 4,306. 254 hours of watch time. It net the channel 28 new subscribers. Yeah, so, okay. I can actually see by days. 5 days, 354 views. 10 days, 1,048. 15, 2,546. 20, 3,613. 25 days, 4,246. And we are now at 4,306. What? In the first 25 days, 16 hours, we got 4,306 views on our short film. That's like 7 minutes long. The algorithm is working. The gods finally care. No, I'm just kidding. They don't care because the next video I uploaded didn't do very well anyways. The next video was the behind the scenes, and that got 53 views. Ebbs and flows, right? Things come and go. It's all about the way that things are titled. It's all about when they hit, how they're shared, when they're shared. If the engagement starts in the first 24 hours, if it doesn't, the algorithm doesn't give a shit. It's just cool. It's just cool to know that something that we made got seen by a lot of people and continues to be seen by even more people. I can't wait to see how this does around Halloween, which actually I think is probably around the time that we'll be shooting the next one. I think that I've finally decided on what the next thriller is going to be. I think that's what the short film will be, is a thriller. I'm not comfortable saying anything about it now, other than there's probably significantly more dialogue, more characters, more settings. And I think I'm actually saying something in it this time. I've mentioned many times that last time when we went to make Penelope, we went in with this expectation that we were going to try to say something, like get out some message about something, because the story was initially totally different than what Penelope is. Penelope is just a thriller horror short about a demon cat. But we had this story in mind about how I guess I'll keep it in the tank in case I want to do it later on, but it was essentially this guy experiencing an extreme psychedelic trip, and you are taken inside his psychedelic trip and are seeing him confront some of his demons, right? I said I wanted to keep it in the tank, whatever. It's there. It's an easy story to tell. I could still tell it, and it could still be unique depending on how it was done. But that was initially the plan. And then we're just like, well, what if it's cringe? Because we didn't know. We didn't know how good it was going to look. We have never done something of this magnitude before. But, the fear was, okay, we do this thing. We know that the intention is good, but what if it comes out shit and it's cringe? We don't want to do that for something we care about. So let's test run something more simple, straightforward. And I think we did it. I feel really good about that. Okay, there we go. What are my plans this weekend? I'm going to go hang out with Nick. Okay, what else we got? Oh, boy. The last thing I Googled, it would have been something from the show, right? That we just did. So I guess, okay, let's look. What else? What did I look at before Googling things on the show? Oh, okay. The last thing I Googled was, should I let my dog eat grass? So yes, okay. We'll talk about Gus. Okay, so Gus is 13. So he's technically an old dog, as far as dogs go, right? 13's old. And he's a medium-sized dog, I'd say. He's a lab mixed with a basset hound. So he's a lab with just stubby little legs. Small dogs live forever, it seems. Some can live to like 18, 20 years old. Some can live older than that. Whatever, just on average, smaller dogs live a little bit longer than bigger dogs. And big dogs live, maybe 8 to 12 years sometimes on average. And Gus, being a medium-sized dog, is 13. So he's right around too old territory. Just for dad's comfort, right? But on the outside, he's a pup. Well, that's not true. I mean, he looks like an old dog, but he's got plenty of pep in his step. He's running up and down stairs, sprinting around. He's very playful. He's still got all his teeth. Well, most of his teeth. And this, third chance at life that he got, which I can kind of describe a little bit, is just very good for his mental health. So I rescued him when he was 5. He came from an extremely abusive home. He was covered in scars. He was bone thin. And then there's a chunk of time that I'm not particularly fond of talking about. Well, that I wish that I could talk about a little bit more, but it's just very difficult when you want to also protect other people's privacy. But I was in a relationship, and the main thing is that she did not like my dogs for whatever reason. We don't need to talk about it. And I could experience that. I could see that Gus was just extremely unhappy, and I was so committed to making the relationship work that I of course, put the needs of the dogs second, which I believe that you're maybe supposed to do. I don't know. I was just focusing on a relationship that was clearly destined to fail, doomed to fail, and letting the care that I wanted to be giving my dogs go by the wayside. So during that period of time, it was very obvious that my dogs were not happy. And then when we were out of that relationship, when we kind of got this third wind for him. So they're living their best lives. They are loved more than they could ever know. And they love each other, which is the biggest deal in the world to me. It's not just that they're excited for dad to come home. My dogs really authentically love each other, and I can see that they're a pack. I actually have this new camera. It's a little security cam that I have put in my room so I can watch the dogs while I'm gone. And I see them snuggling and playing around while I'm gone. It's amazing. I love it. I love every second of it. But Gus, being the old boy that he is of course gonna start experiencing things that come with age. And right now, I don't know if it was just an age thing or what it was, but he had a real bad stomach bug. Real bad. And just about every day for about a week, he was profusely vomiting. I don't know if that's the correct use of the word profusely, but he was vomiting a lot. A lot. And it's gross dog vomit. And I'm sorry for people with weak stomachs, but and for the sake of it, he hasn't done it for the last 2 days. Well, he didn't do it yesterday, and he didn't do it. He hasn't done it this morning. Okay, so hasn't been without it as long as I thought, but a day without it is good. And he's drinking plenty of water, and he's not appearing lethargic right now. He can go for walks with me. It's also 1,000,000 degrees out right now too, so it's been tough, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. But growing up, I don't know if it's, I think I know that it's not true. Whatever. I have an opinion on it, but I don't have facts, and this is why I Googled it. My mom used to tell me that grass is like Pepto-Bismol for dogs. And so they eat it, it helps them throw up, and then they feel better. But my take on that later on was maybe the grass is what's making them throw up, right? They don't eat it to soothe their stomach. They eat it because they're dogs, and they want to just eat things all the time. I mean, Judah eats cat poop if given the opportunity. Judah eats frozen dog poop if given the opportunity. She's just a little rascal. Yeah. And And so yeah, I think dogs just eat grass just to eat grass, and then they can't digest it, so it makes them throw up. Because every time they eat grass, if they throw up shortly thereafter, they're throwing up grass. So do I think that dogs are playing 3D chess and they're like, well, my stomach hurts. I think I should probably ask to be let outside so I can graze on some grass, so then I can lubricate my throat by putting the grass down into my gullet. It can't digest, and then I can throw it all up, and then maybe I can purge and feel a little bit better. I don't think they're doing that. So my last Google was, should I let my dog eat grass? And I'll tell you, there's a few different takes according to the internet. From VCAhospitals.com, this is, of course, the first one that comes up because it's Google sponsored. So it's, of course, plucking from an article because it's just a paragraph that says, however, there may be another digestive need filled by grazing. Dogs need roughage in their diet, and grass is a good source of fiber. A lack of roughage affects the dog's ability to digest food and pass stool, so grass may actually help their bodily functions run more smoothly. Okay. Then I see another one that says, should I stop my dog from eating grass? Eating grass is a normal behavior for dogs. It's unlikely that they'll get much nutrition from it, but for an otherwise healthy dog that is regularly wormed, eating grass every now and again is unlikely to be something to worry about. So the first one felt definitive, right? It's good. It's a good source of fiber. Let them do it. It's great. It'll help them run more smoothly. Second one's like, yeah, dogs do that kind of shit. It's unlikely that they'll get anything good from it, but like, it's not going to hurt them, whatever. And then, oh shit, I see a new one. If your dog regularly eats grass, there's probably no need for concern, even if this does cause them to vomit. If it's a continuous cycle of eating grass and vomiting, then quickly eating grass again and repeating the cycle, it's a good idea to consult a vet. Okay, so that one straight up says it's fine if they vomit too. And then here's another one. If dogs eat too much grass, and of course it says too much, they can develop gastroenteritis, which is inflammation of the stomach and intestines. Okay, dogs eat grass because of boredom or anxiety. Although most dogs have no problem keeping themselves occupied, some will eventually get bored and will nibble on grass to pass the time. Okay, all right, so I'm not seeing... I don't know. I guess what I'm taking away from this is it's fine to let your dogs graze on grass. Of course, keep an eye out for like pesticides and that kind of shit and make sure they're getting wormed or they have a dewormer or whatever. You understand what I'm trying to say. Just keep an eye on your dog's health. I don't know, man. Anytime anything goes wrong with my dogs, I just want to cry. Because I know. All dogs go to heaven. All dogs will pass. You just can't prepare for a thing like that. And that scares me more than anything. Like, I'm fine with where I'm headed mentally. I really feel like I'm in a better place than I have ever been. But I feel like I owe a lot of that to the companionship of my dogs. And I'm pretty certain that it would be irresponsible for me to get another dog after these dogs pass. So I know there's going to be a period of deep loneliness when they go. And I'm just scared of that. I don't know. Being lonely is just a sad... You never want anybody to feel alone. See what you did to me? You had to ask what I freaking Googled. Way to go. I hope you feel terrible. Last thing you Googled, can dogs eat grass? Okay, let's do like one more. And then I have one more thing to announce. And then I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Okay, and our final question. Let's pick... Okay. This is funny. Especially because it's probably a joke and I'm gonna take it too seriously and too far. Okay. The last question. Would you say yes if I asked you out? This could be a simple check yes or no, but this is the ADH deep dive. So I have to be a little annoying about it. So, first of all, it depends on your definition of if you asked me out. You want to go out for a drink? Sure. Yeah, I'll probably go. You want to go out for food or just for hangs? Yeah, why not? I love company. I might be a little bit busy, so I might say no. The first disclaimer, would you say yes if I asked you out? It depends. What do you mean? And where? And what are we doing? But the real interpretation of that question, I'm sure, is would you say yes if I asked you out? Well, again, I'm sure the true meaning is that it's a joke. But if I were to take it in a more serious direction, I would view that as if I were to ask you to be my partner romantically, or like, my boyfriend, or whatever you call that, would you say yes? And my assumption, what I believe right now in my heart of hearts, not knowing who asked this question, assuming it wasn't Haley Williams who asked this question, I can almost certainly and definitively say no. And that's a weird, there's a weird part of that that I'd like to discuss. I am currently in a period of intentional loneliness. I guess to pick up on the dogs conversation. Yeah, I am currently in a period of intentional loneliness when it comes to romantic relationships. I think I've maybe talked about this on the podcast before, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it again. There's a lot of things that I could talk about when it comes to the subject, but the main thing I think it is important for me to note is that I am extremely, especially in romantic relationships, codependent. For a few different reasons. But the main takeaway that I have, the main conclusion that I've tried to come to about this codependency thing is, of course, I'm working on the why for that, right? But aside from the why, I just know that it's really not fair to be a codependent person with the capability to manipulate a situation to benefit your needs and emotions rather than your partner's. What I'm trying to say is it's excruciating to be in a relationship with me. And this is my view, and this is a healthy view. I'm not saying that's what it would be like now. But I'm saying most of my relationships, not all, actually, most of my relationships have ended in part because I cannot regulate or was not able to regulate my emotions. What I have found is that a lot of that was apparently due to undiagnosed anxiety that I didn't know that I had. I thought I was just depressed and stupid. These are inner monologue issues. These are not things that, well, some of my partners have told me these types of things. But these horrible things I tell myself, those are not my partner's fault, usually. but I have this innate ability to, whatever I'm feeling, project it onto my partner as if it is their fault and they are now responsible for healing the tragedy that is me. And oh my God, that has got to be so exhausting. When I edit these freaking podcasts, especially when I'm like dwelling on the garbage, I listen back and I'm like, dude, shut up. Everybody has these freaking problems. Like, just, you can talk about them, but talk about them as if like we're going through them, not poor me. Now, instead of hearing me for an hour and a half every Monday with like, you know, a good amount of Mondays off, imagine living with me all day, every day. Ugh. I'm going to a negative headspace now and I'm trying to pull myself out of it, especially because I know I'm getting better. And I know that a lot of the ends of my relationships weren't just because I had emotional regulation issues. You know, takes two to tango, man. But, you know, my biggest part to play in relationships is my extreme codependency. And after my last relationship ended in an extremely surprising, unexpected, and I will say traumatic way, even though all of my faults were still to play in that relationship, I still had that part to play. Don't get me wrong. They just took it significantly further. So after that happened, I took a little bit of a vow to myself that, okay, for the next year or two, you are going to just sit in that. Because I came to that conclusion after that relationship was over, that like, this is what I do, this is who I am, these are my faults in a relationship. You know, I was still hurt by what they did to me and how the relationship ultimately ended. But, you know, I was still exhausting to be with. And so I kind of had this never again moment where like, I will not, because basically what happened is something significant happened in the relationship, and that's why that was my closure, is knowing what actually happened. But the reason that I was being told that the relationship was coming to an end was because of these issues that I go through, that I experience, which were real, but I was essentially being gaslit by being told this is the real issue, when actually something else was going on. And, you know, I don't need to talk about that something else, because A, you can draw your own conclusions, B, I'm sure you have, and C, I'm writing about it in a Midwest Skies song that is due to come out when our EP comes out. So, whatever. I'll talk about it later. But I made a vow that if a relationship that I'm in is going to end, never again will it be because I can't get my shit together. I've been told in a relationship, more than one, in different ways, but one person told it to me in a more direct, memorable way. I'm not going to quote them verbatim, I guess, but essentially what they said to me was like, you know, when you're in a relationship, there's push and pull, there's 50-50, I take, you give, I give. But there's not enough room in your head for me. And that hurts. And that's real. I don't want to do that to someone. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone where they feel like they have to walk on eggshells around me to not hurt my feelings. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who feels bad for me all the time, because I know they do feel bad for me, but it's like, what do you want me to do about it? I also feel bad for the people who are experiencing homelessness but I can't give them as much as I would like to. I can't give them my money. I can't give them shelter. I know that's a significantly different analogy, but that's kind of what I'm trying to say here. Like, you can have empathy for someone and not be their savior, not need to be their savior. And in a lot of relationships, I looked to my partner to be my savior. And you can't put that on somebody. You just can't. It's too much, especially because we're all going through it. And it's okay to talk about it in that 50-50 perspective. But when it's like, no, we can't talk about you right now. We got to work on me. It's unfair to do that to someone. And I don't want to do that to people anymore. If I want a relationship to end tragically, I want it to be their fault, not mine. I'm tired of it being my fault. I'm trying to laugh about this because I've actually got chills for how angry I am, because that was a very real sentiment there. I'm just tired of it being my fault. So if you asked me out, I would say no, because I'm not ready. And you don't want that. You don't. And you might be the exact same way. And this being single thing is really good for me to recognize that. I'm not depriving myself of intimate experiences with people or very close, deep emotional friendships and relationships. But when it comes to like the boyfriend, girlfriend, we're an item thing, you don't want it. I'm not ready for it. But it's okay because I've been working on myself during this downtime. And I know that the next relationship that I do let those walls down for will be better off because of it. So if you want to ask me out, just wait a little bit. I'm getting there. Okay, I'm working on it. Okay, it's time to go. Let me talk about this last thing. I've talked about Nikolai many times on this show. I've talked about Ethan Hingston many times on this show, who is also a former guest on the show, probably a future guest on the show. We were all in a band together named Live for Tomorrow. I left around 2014. In 2013, we played a show with Midwest Skies. We all became very big fans of them. When I moved out to Grand Rapids, I was able to join Midwest Skies as a drummer, and now I'm back to playing live music. Live for Tomorrow continues, Midwest Skies continues. Finally, a lot of the insecurities and hurt feelings and whatever, the tension has fizzled out between me and the guys in Live for Tomorrow. So our friendships have been able to rebuild over the last 10 years. But for the first time ever, well, for the second time ever, but for the first time in this particular way, Midwest Skies and Live for Tomorrow will be on stage together once again. For the first time since 2013, and for the first time since I left the band. So this is a very multiverse-esque show. I think the fact that we've all, for lack of a better phrase, grown the fuck up, gotten over our shit, and are just excited about and committed to making music and having fun together as friends and brothers again. It couldn't be more beautiful. It's a storybook. I was going to say a storybook ending, but it's not an ending. It's the beginning of something beautiful. So September 9th in Traverse City will be the show. Details to come a little bit later. The announcement is going to be made Saturday, August 5th. And this episode comes out Monday the 7th. Right? Monday the 7th? That would make sense, right? Yeah, Monday the 7th. So the announcement will be live. You can look on Midwest Skies or Live for Tomorrow's page to know a little bit more details. I just think it's so cool that we've all grown up and we're all still pursuing the thing, and that this little piece of my young adulthood still exists and I get to engage with it. it's just cool to have the homies on stage. I don't know who's opening for who. I think either of that matters, or I don't think that matters anyway. But just LFT will be on stage. Midwest Skies will be on stage separately, but together. It's just cool, man. I'm glad we're here. As I was trying to wrap up, the camera died. So that was pretty sweet. Let's just get this out of the way before I send you on your merry way. Some of you may know, if you like this little skull planter here, or any of those koozies up at the front, or this little banner that says this is not a punk house, it's a punk home, there are many, 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 many other things like it. I'm never good with describing them. But if you like that kind of stuff, you can go to catandcrew.com, enter the promo code MONDAY, that's MUNDAY, to get 10% off of your first purchase. Sweet that they're even doing that for the listeners of this podcast. So catandcrew.com, enter the promo code MONDAY, MUNDAY, get 10% off your first purchase. If you would like to be a contributor to this podcast, if you would like to support in any way, the place that I host this is called Buzzsprout, and they have a way that you can help support the podcast directly by either making a monthly or one-time contribution of like $3, $5, $8, or $10. That doesn't go into my pocket. It just goes to the hosting website so I can continue to, basically you have to pay for the amount of time that you upload. You can only have so much upload time. So you're essentially filling that little piggy bank there. If you like the show, you're paying for more time. That's all you're doing. So you can tap the link in the description to go to the Buzzsprout subscriptions. I believe that it starts off as monthly, but you can cancel it at any time just to make it a one-time contribution if you'd like. What else? Check out Penelope if you haven't, our short film Penelope. Check out our music video for the song Come Back For Me. There's an EP coming from our band Midwest Skies sometime soon. I don't know the exact date, but I know that we have made crazy progress on it. I don't think it's even secret to say that like most of it is written. We're just going through recording processes right now. So who knows what comes from there? Promotions, music videos, I don't know. But we're making phenomenal strides on it. And then, I don't know, man. Thank you. Thank you for showing up every week. When I do, rather. You show up more often than I do. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the ADH Deep Dive. I love you. And I'll see you next week. But don't bully me if I don't.